If Jung was trying to build a magnificent seaworthy ship, an integrated, individuated self, to safely navigate the terrifying ocean of the unconsciousness, Krishnamurti was sitting on the shore saying, "Your ship is a prison. You are already in the ocean, but as long as you keep building the ship, you will suffer." How do you think about that?
Yeah, like I kind of see it as the difference between labeling something for usefulness versus labeling something for keeping it as a static identity. So like let's say for example when you have window cleaner, it's very useful to be able to know that it is window cleaner so that you don't drink it and stuff like that. So it is good to have an identity and to memorize what that identity is in certain cases. Um and there's certain things that are useful for us to know about ourselves. So let's say if we're not really enjoying life in certain ways, it's because we might not be able to use certain parts of our personality. Like let's say as an ENTP, if you weren't allowed to be open-minded or curious or explore ideas, or even allowed to be logical in the circumstance that you're in, you would start to feel a little drained or frustrated. And the Myers-Briggs gives you a useful framework for understanding where these emotional responses are coming from for you. I would say it becomes a prison when you can't stop seeing yourself through that lens. And so I believe that there are certain Buddhist trains of thought where they say you must forget about your identity, but you must know what it is before you forget it. You can't just start with forgetting your identity and letting it go. You actually have to go through the process of investing into it, getting a solid grounding, and then letting it go. Because then at least you know what you're letting go. And so I find whenever someone takes something way too seriously, then they might be limiting themselves. So, like, let's say if someone says, "Oh, I'm an ENTP, so I just can't do this job," or "I just can't do this," that's when it could potentially start becoming a prison because you can find creative ways for you to enjoy a job even if it isn't naturally your preference. Like there are ways which you can use your cognitive functions in certain positions. So it's not to give you more ultimatums to follow. I think that's when it becomes more restrictive. I would say that it's only a prison if you use it as your one lens to see everything. So if you hold it loosely and you hold many different trains of thought, you're like, oh, this is true, but this is also true. Like, let's say your Myers-Briggs type is like 5% or 10% or whatever percent of you that you think it is, and you use many other models to assist your understanding, then it's not a prison. It's just a filter that you can play with. But once something stops being play and it starts to become this one truth and there's a rigidity to it, that's when it starts to become a prison because you limit yourself, is where I see that coming in. So as long as you don't use type to make your world smaller, I think it's a really great thing to play with and understand yourself and like to expand yourself with.